When she was 15 years old, it seemed that the whole world was playing her song. She was little Elaine, the pride of Paramus, New Jersey, the triple jump kid with the little girl voice, champion of her country, then champion of the world. The horizon seemed unbounded, and it all came with such suddenness and apparent ease. A little girl doing what came naturally, they said, wasn't enough. But it hadn't just come naturally, and it hadn't been easy, because there was a story behind the story. One that she tells us now that she hasn't told anyone before.
Most people know that the reason why I started skating was because of a foot injury, and it wasn't an injury, it was an accident that happened when I was 2.5 years old. And part of my foot was cut off by a lawnmower. I slipped and fell into the lawnmower, and my foot went right under it. They didn't even know if I was going to be able to walk again because they didn't know how bad it was. And as it is now, I only have 2 of my toes, and the others are just, it's only half. So if I could walk, they were going to be glad. So they said the best thing to do was try either roller skating or ice skating for therapy. So I started out walking with special shoes to balance me right, and that worked fine. So we went into ice skating, and I took to it like candy to a baby. I don't really recall being self-conscious when I was younger, and then I started having people like stare at my foot. I sometimes hated myself because I had that, and I said, there's gonna be, you know, nobody that's gonna like me if they know about my foot. Nobody's gonna look at me. They're gonna say, oh, she's gross or something. I didn't know what they were gonna say, but I just didn't want anybody to know anything.
About a year ago, she told the whole story to a reporter. Off the record, she thought. A month or so later, it all appeared in a national magazine. Elaine couldn't believe it. She was really shaken.
I opened up the magazine, and I cried and cried. I said, how could they do this to me?
Genie was out of the bottle, but it didn't really matter. Suddenly, she accepted her foot as something that simply exists. She wasn't afraid to let someone outside her family see it. Now that Elaine has told us the whole story, you can appreciate as you watch what she really has achieved. The little girl voice and giggle hide an inner determination that would be admirable in an athlete twice her age and size.
Just absolutely remarkable courage and determination you went through. Could you share us your thoughts after 37 years watching this clip?
You know, I get asked a lot about my foot. I don't talk about it. This is probably one of the first and only times I really talk about it, but I think because of the work that I'm doing right now in my life, I have decided that I will talk about it, because I think a lot of people don't understand that people with disabilities, and I'm not saying mine was, it's just that there are people that can be kind or mean. And so for me, I want people to understand that we're like everyone else. We want to not be labeled, so to speak, as handicapped. Maybe I want to be encouraging other girls my age and boys too, but I want them to not be afraid, as my parents did not really teach me to go ahead and be open about it. In those days, people said, don't talk about it because you may be labeled as a handicap. So I wasn't taught the right way. And so I kind of feel like now with the Paralympics being next year too, I think that most people that are like me, I've met so many girls that in lawnmower accidents that have reached out to me, and I've guided them, encouraged them to speak about it. And so for me, that's what I'm doing today. I'm working with and helping with these girls to remember, a lot of these kids that have these accidents don't know they have to learn to walk again. They have to learn to ride a bike again. There's so many, and people don't know how dangerous the lawnmowers are. But I also do know, even with any accident, that people lose a limb or a foot or an arm. It's not easy, and I just try to teach people about what we go through, and not to stare, or just be kind to everyone, and hopefully share the love that we have and encourage us.
Mm. Thank you, Elaine. Well, just processing and, what someone would go through during a time like that. And it was such a different time then. There's no online to find out, tips and tricks on how to cope.
Right.
Uh,
Now, there's a support group that I'm on. It's
oh,
LMA survivors, lawnmower accident survivors.
mm-hmm.
You can go on it, and I'll be also happy to answer any questions you have. And especially, I'm starting to head on my own charity events to help these girls and boys to become stronger, and to really take what God has given you and use it into a very exciting thing and make it great. So I'm hoping that I can reach out to everybody out there who's watching, and have them get inspired by my story.
Absolutely. The lawnmower survivors, they are all over the United States, correct? Or do they have one per state, a group?
It's all, I can't tell you how many every day comes in on our Facebook page, and they share their stories. And actually, it's mostly a lot of the parents that I talk to, because they don't know how to deal, one, with their other children, or two, with their husbands. And they ask so many different questions. I just thought it was always going to be about, the child, but there is so much that goes into who to talk to. There's really not many people to talk to that went through it and can help. So I wish I had that when I was growing up, because probably I would have talked about it all over the place and shown my foot everywhere. And I do have so much inspiration and respect for these young girls, because nowadays they are not afraid, and they get out there and they're like doing their school projects and saying, "Here, everyone, this is what happened to me," and it's so great to see.
Mm. Thank you so much, Elaine. I would just like to, at this point, acknowledge our live viewers. Thank you, Michelle, for that comment. I'm just going to be on the screen here. Thank you so much for sharing, and how you turned a tragedy into a triumph.